So, good morning, everybody. My name is Brad Bates. My tech talk this morning will be on virtual reality and augmented reality. And then also, I think I'll touch a little bit on its applications in our daily and working lives. I think just a little bit of background as to why this kind of topic intrigued me a little bit was I started at BBD when it was hard lockdown. I think meeting anybody face to face was few and far between. I think a lot of people are shy when it comes to Teams meetings. Everybody's videos are off. And I think the applications of this sort of technology, I think finds itself pretty well moving forward to the future. So let's begin. Anyway, I think before we start, let's understand the difference between virtual and augmented reality. AR, so we'll start off with AR. AR is your combination of your real world and virtual world, much like the video displaying now up on the screen. It's a bit laggy, but I think we've kind of got the concept here. Here we can see our users obviously using a mobile device or a cell phone to display this augmented information board on a humpback whale. There is also audio along with this, just kind of showing how you can hear how a humpback whale sounds. Then just onto some of your augmented realities hardware that is used. Your phones and your tablets or your mobile devices are your more common devices used to display your augmented reality programs or applications. A pretty cool concept is the picture we're busy seeing on the screen now is your kind of streamline glasses, which would display these augmented objects or images to a user. I think quite a far away from this concept, but I think nonetheless pretty cool. And then finally, I think a pretty common one is your VR lookalike headsets, which are shared between your VR and AR sort of sides. Then moving on, we have just a few examples of your augmented reality, which you may have already seen or kind of interacted with. For example, is your Pokemon Go, which was introduced back in 2016, huge craze. I think quite an interesting stat that I saw on this was if you go and look at the amount of kilometers walked by your combination of all the users, I think it goes to Pluto. Yeah, so it was quite fascinating to see that. And also one that I think maybe is slipped by is you watching your weekend rugby or soccer matches, and that advertisement that you can see on the pitches isn't actually spray painted on the grass. That's an augmented advertisement, and often you're wondering why your player kind of disappears behind that. I think the augmented advert just taking a little bit of center stage there. Another one is your player stats that pop up before a game, kind of like a player's card. That's also, again, kind of an example of your augmented reality, maybe something that you see every day that kind of just slips past you. We then move on to your virtual reality or VR, which is, on the other hand, it's a fully simulated virtual world experience. I think, much like the Matrix, a user can fully immerse themselves in this virtual world, completely remove themselves from their own reality. VR obviously mostly makes use of your headset kind of hardware devices, where you have your built-in HD screens, you've got your audio outputs, gyroscope sensors, all aiding to give the user the best virtual world experience that they can get. Then I think most applications of your virtual reality are kind of seen in your 3D cinemas. Gaming is obviously quite quite a big one. And then obviously this huge drive now for this like virtual world or social virtual world for people to interact with. I think then moving on to a bit more of a technical side, you know, how do virtual reality and augmented reality kind of convey these experiences to their users. The key to a well-developed augmented reality product is how well the augmentations can integrate with real-world instances. To do so, developers need to capture real life coordinates separate from the device's camera itself. And this process called image registration. As I mentioned earlier, you know, this augmented reality has its own specific language that it uses. It's a markup language called ARML, or Augmented Reality Markup Language. Within that, it's got two portions where it's got your normal XML files, and then it's got this MCAS script, which is just your JavaScript kind of standard. Your XML is kind of used to define the objects in itself, and then your JavaScript, again, is used to interact or give the user dynamic interaction with those objects within your AR. Then onto VR, or virtual reality, I think is kind of much the same as your augmented reality, where it has its own kind of specific language it uses called VRML, which is your virtual reality modeling language. I think this just been your standard file format for 3D object rendering, but then this was, I think, the beginning phases where it was later replaced by your X3D, which is now a royalty-free framework for people to make use of to kind of design these 3D objects in your virtual reality. There are now new web VR JavaScript written APIs that can be support a variety of VR devices on, you know, any web browser. I think this is where the complexity of augmented reality differs quite a bit from virtual reality, is that your VR, you know, makes use of just 3D objects and kind of immersing a user in a completely simulated world, whereas AR, you know, has to incorporate both of those along with real life kind of image capturing and kind of combine the two. I think the question is how can these how can virtual reality and augmented reality kind of integrate itself into our daily lives, and is there actually space for it? Augmented and virtual reality in our work environment could eliminate the office workspace. This kind of concept is called a dematerialized office. I know we've got a nice brand new office, but I think the future could kind of lean towards that. I think we're already starting to see applications like that. You know, we could be pretty much anywhere in the world, slip on a headset, and, you know, immerse yourself in a virtually collaborative and interactive office space. You know, imagine sitting in a meeting where, according to your viewpoint, you're in the office, in a boardroom with colleagues or clients, you know, or meanwhile, you know, you're back at home in bed or on the couch. You know, I feel you could interact with clients on a face-to-face, well, a virtual face-to-face basis. And then also, I think the daily or weekly stand-ups that you have with teams or scrum meetings, you know, you can have that facial interaction. And I think we'll start exposing people that aren't actually paying attention in the meetings. Already VR has been used in design, retail, and architecture. You know, imagine your new home, or you have your prospects of your home, an architect designs, and you can have this almost real world walkthrough of your house before it's even built. And then there is obviously a big growth in AR towards your retail, or for example, you could be in your new home, scroll through a catalog of different furniture items, and then place those different items virtually in your home and kind of match them to where they want to be. Those are just kind of cool applications of where AR could be heading. But where from here, you know, what is the future? Where could VR and AR take us? You know, where could it be in 100 years' time? We could see VR, you know, in this kind of socializing aspect. And, you know, I think we've all heard the term metaverse, which was obviously kind of brought forward by Facebook or Meta itself. I think it's still a building process at the moment. But they have actually released a platform that falls under the metaverse called Horizon. It's new to the metaverse, but unfortunately, only applicable to users in America and Canada for now. There are several VR-based social environments already up and running, such as your VR chat, your Altspace VR, and your Rec Room. I think Facebook obviously made their intentions quite clear on your augmented or virtual reality space when they purchase Oculus, which is your main manufacturing company for these devices used in your virtual augmented reality worlds. I did have a little kind of demo view of Horizon. It looks a little bit like your Nintendo Wii tennis players. So I think they've got a long way to go before we kind of in the same ballpark as Ready Player One. I'm sure we all remember that movie. Your AR or virtual reality, I think a driving of futuristic technology that they're busy looking at is this virtual retinal display. What they do is they scan an image onto a live person's retina, and that now when, you know, normal view, you'll be able to see an object or an augmented image in front of you. This sort of, you know, kind of technology and stuff that, you know, is moving forward in this area. My prediction of the future, I think that AR is going to lead the way, you know, with a sort of hybrid mix of virtual and augmented reality. For example, imagine you have this headset or device that can alter the amount of reality you want to see or virtualness that you would like to see. I could be sitting here now, have a headset on and turn a setting to see where the best Wi-Fi is in the room. I think there's also a real push towards the healthcare sector where I think this is quite a cool concept, but I think way in the future, you could walk into a doctor's practice and almost instantaneously be diagnosed with what's going wrong or, you know, what illnesses and stuff like that. Again, back onto healthcare, you know, I think the applications of training, you know, doctor school and stuff like that, where, you know, you've got a live cadaver where you can replace it now by an augmented one, you know, and they can pull it apart and interact with it and see where it goes and place it, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I think the applications are quite endless. I think that VR definitely has its aspects of gripping the social side of this virtual world. I think where I think this is going to differ a little bit into the future is as technology continues to grow, I feel that AR is going to kind of intrigue users a little bit more, because with VR, you lose that real world aspect. And I think to integrate with technology as it's forever growing, let's try and keep ourselves grounded to the real world as much as possible while incorporating that, you know, that real technology and augmented kind of space. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my tech talk on your virtual and augmented reality.